fact, what's unique than we ever did with the attorney.
Nope.
We're recording.
Okay. All right. Let's call this meeting to order. Can I get an approval of the agenda?
There we go.
Oh, okay.
Everybody.
Okay.
Hey.
Can I get an approval for the agenda? Okay. Got a.
I'll second.
Thank you. I need a second. That's what I know.
Motion. Karen.
Karen, and second by Vanessa.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. Let's go on to the approval of the minutes. Has everybody had a chance to look at them and approve of them?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from October 9th.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. They are approved. Okay. Indiana State Library report.
All right. Let's switch over here to share. Since we met last, we brought on yet another library. We welcome Scott County on November 28th. Which is the Class B library. Brought back at least one old friend, Bill Anderson, some of you may remember, was at the state library for some years and worked in multiple southern libraries for others. So it was very nice to have a very experienced Evergreener on staff to help prep people, and they had a thing going. And it was very festive. Everything was all decorated for Christmas, and kept snowing the whole time. But they seem to be coming on quite well. Haven't heard too much from them, so hopefully all's well. Henry is our newest library to start their automation project. This is a library that's fully automated. They actually weren't even cataloged. They didn't even have a card catalog.
Where is that? I've never heard of that.
Henry is in Carthage, Indiana, which is Rush County. You're probably
Just
looking forward
yeah,
to it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yes.
So,
It's nice.
We can get all of Rush County on.
Oh.
Jason and I went down to do their configuration and train their staff. Their staff of one. It is a one-person library. She's trying to get some help. But they've got a teeny tiny budget to go along with everything else. So the library actually was closed for a couple of years while we tried to find someone to come direct it. Longer there, Spiceland also joined us so that we can get them up and more comfortable with the web client. They've been working in the staff client right up until the end, so got them switched over that day. And Ridgeville's continuing cataloging. So everybody's making a lot of progress, but as soon as the weather starts looking consistently better, I want to set up a bunch of parties to get everybody out to those libraries and help wrap things up as much as possible. Henry Henley only has a collection of about 3,500 items, so it shouldn't take them terribly long to catalog. We could do a session like we did in Swayze. We had half the library done in a day. So that would be very exciting if we get enough catalogers together to make that happen. Probably like silly buggers were trying to get enough hotspots to make that work. Well, we'll see. We'll see. And then Spiceland, as I said, they found kind of a long range plan with this because they've had a lot of challenges come up with the director losing his spouse, and then the director getting sick, having to be replaced, and finding additional staff. So it's been about a 2-year project for them. But right now, based on where they are and the progress they've made, they are looking at an early spring go live for them finally. So, and all of your county will be great. Development projects. I don't have any updates on the first one, but they are in the final testing phases for the improved printing and email options. They still anticipate getting that in for free. For anybody using baskets already, that's gonna make that really happy because that will give you call numbers for your pick lists, which I know is a big deal for a lot of people. It's a lot easier to find on the shelf than where it is. As far as which ones of these are updated, I did pull a couple that have been completed, and actually none of these changed. That was the next page that I've got a bunch of changes on. So right now, a bunch of these are in holding. The long-term projects are where it's seeing a lot of updates. Acquisitions, the acquisitions development project has been broken up into 10 different sprints, development components. And right now, they are in the process of prepping the first 5, so 0 through 4. 0 and 1 are in the funding phase. We have already committed to participating in both of those sprints. I ended up taking the money that this group committed for this year for acquisitions and splitting it over those 2 sprints so that we don't put all our eggs in one sprint basket. Try to keep the project moving forward. I had got the contracts from Equinox yesterday, and they are contingent on sufficient funding being found within a reasonable time frame. Because right now these are relatively high dollar sprints, and MassLink is contributing, Pines is contributing, we're contributing. They're just trying to build up community support so that no one group is trying to fund this project by themselves. Last time that happened, there were a lot of hard feelings that came out of it, and people didn't agree with how things were developed, so we're trying to make it more of a group effort this time around. We just got the Sprint 2 specs this week, and we expect 3 and 4 by the end of the year. So the MassLink group meets on Thursday, and we'll be discussing that then. Did you mean? Didn't think we'd actually approved that one at the last meeting. Do you remember?
I don't even remember it being far enough along to get to that point.
Well, there were several clarifications that were required on the specs, and I think we still have to finish approving them. But hopeless holds and the updating hold notification method, those specs are both ready for a funding vote, so decisions will be made for that this week. Which there's been a lot of prep work done on those. I don't anticipate that there'll be any challenges to moving those forward. We got through the upgrade. Everybody got through the upgrade. On the whole, it actually went exceedingly smoothly. I imagine Jason's probably the one who felt the brunt of things going wrong, if they did, or as they did. But I only heard from 3 libraries the next week who didn't know why they couldn't reach Evergreen. So that's a start. To be fair, one of them was a school and one was prison. So they don't tend to be as involved in the community along the way. Did have 4 live webinars with 243 participants, in addition to releasing the FAQs and a archival, very quick watch version of the webinar content. The upgrade itself then went into place. Actually, I think it took less time than some of the others we had. You were done by what, 3:30 in the morning?
We're all the way
Started at
around
9,
there.
something like
Yeah, that sounds terrible, but the ones where I have to replace hardware are much slower than the ones where it's a new database go. So yeah, this was a hardware year twice as things got smoother later in the week. So.
I was going to say, would you like to talk about what's gone on since?
Well, we did have a hardware issue, which is why it was extremely slow right after the upgrade. So I got that sorted out, and now I'm still researching some other issues with some hardware, but it's no longer in a position to cause trouble every single day. So got the stress off of all of you. Now it's just in my office.
And there does continue to be a tremendous amount of development. The next major consortium, I believe, switching over is going to be Pines in January. So we're a little bit out in front of them, but they are testing and patching very heavily right now. So we'll be continuing to benefit from their involvement. Good. Glad to hear it. Acquisitions, this is really moving out of the pilot phase at this point. Finally, we'll have had libraries on for more than a year. Did a training at the end of November to introduce anybody who's been listening to, considering, what have you, joining the acquisitions group, and have heard from a few new participants. So sent out preparation worksheets to everybody in the group that participated in the class. Had 43 participants in that class. So it's a good sized group. A lot of people making consideration. I've heard from a few who wrote me back already and said, no, too much work, not doing it. But I don't know. I do it for the consortium collection, and I really liked it so far. So I found it actually makes it a little easier to keep things more in place. But we'll see. We are doing some work with Baker and Taylor to try to figure out one of the issues that's been plaguing the EDI connections. So we're working on that. So at this point, we're waiting on them, not them waiting on us. All right. On the fiscal report, we really haven't, we were too busy upgrading and training in November to really spend any money. So the only thing I spent money on was the consortium collection. So. We're in good shape. I'm gonna try to see what I can do to get some of the other funds addressed here, but we're sitting in an excellent position right now. And then just wanted to give you an update. We're continuing to flesh out our relationship with the foundation, and we've over this year they ended up with a separate savings account that all of our funds were kept in and managed out of. Starting in the new year, we're going to be adding a checking account so we'll be actually able to cut our own checks and what have you. I'm angling to try to actually get the payment program funds into that so that we have a little more flexibility with getting them set up in a more timely fashion. So we'll see. It depends on what limits come with the account because it is we are getting it under the auspices of the foundation and what they are eligible for and what have you maybe. We'll see. We're going to try to sort it out. We're also hoping to set it up so everybody can just do direct deposit both ways if you wanted to. So you wouldn't have to cut checks at all. I know it feels really ridiculous for the libraries for like, here's my 50 cents. It costs me more to mail. Checking. I think the worst was 1 for 15 cents. I felt so bad about that one. Like, you would have just like taped it to a piece of paper instead. We actually have gotten a couple of payments in Info Express for someone did that with cash, which is not good. Because if it got lost, we didn't know where to track.
When the amount's that small, is there a way they can hold it? I mean, that they don't have to issue a check or?
Not with the state managing the money. No, we have to collect every cent before we turn around, and that's one of the reasons why
Like if it's
I
under
wanted to get it into a different account.
$5.
Everything has to be checks and balances.
Well, and we don't want to cause any problem with audits either.
Right.
If you
Right.
hold funds,
Right.
yeah. So there's lots goes into it, but it would be nice if we could say yes. If you only owe 15 cents, you can wait until the next cycle to pay.
Right.
You still have to eventually. You can't just
Right,
roll back
that's what
into
I
it.
meant, but I mean, at least have like till the last quarter or something so that, hopefully they'll have other fines and we'll add to it.
Yes and no. We kind of hope that they can settle.
Okay, cataloging committee?
Okay, well, our meeting this month, we moved it to next week, so, or to this week. And normally it would have been last week, and so we're meeting on Thursday, so we don't really have a lot of updates, but we had the all roundtable webinar training for 3.2, and I it was very well attended, and I feel like it was well received. So, and we're still cranking away at the cataloging manual. We've been issuing more and more chapters. So, I would like to say I'm hoping to finish it by the end of the year, but this is a crazy time, so we'll see how it goes. But we have a lot of more chapters that are rolling in. So.
E-content?
Could you do that for me, Vanessa? I wasn't at the meeting this morning.
Okay.
I had other business in the building.
The big thing we talked about was overdrive periodicals. Anna has dealt with that a lot. There were some issues with the survey that we put out at the beginning. Some people didn't get it, or it didn't. And then some of the magazines that we chose to get have since gone out of publication, or they ceased publication before. When we put out the titles, and so there's been all kinds of issues. We weren't getting new titles, and Honest had to be in touch with Overdrive quite a bit because of that. There's just under $37,000 left to spend out for 2017. Let's see, what else? Oh, we talked about 2017, 18, yeah. 17, 18.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
know, it's kind of confusing. And then we talked about some things that we might like to see for 2019. We talked about Tumble Books, Tumble Math, and Scholastic Teachables, and Scholastic Go, and Creative Bug. So things that we might be looking into in the next year.
The one other thing I might mention is we did talk about creating a centralized cost per circulation fund
Yes.
that
Yes.
libraries could contribute
Yes.
to.
Cost
Which
per
would allow
circulation.
us to run through some of those high
Hold
items.
items.
Patron services meets next week.
They do. Brandy did the workshop, roundtable workshop for us at the end of October. She did that. And Britta has completed the refresher class. I just haven't had a chance to get it loaded yet. So making a lot of progress. There's been a bunch of progress on the training front there. And then they are going to be reworking their manual. The hold up on that end is me. I haven't gotten them the paperwork to sort out how we're going to do that. So we'll probably get that sorted next week.
Let's skip D.
Yeah. No update.
We talked about it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Here, we'll get on that, right?
Promise. Yes.
Okay, so unfinished business.
I didn't. Everything we talked about the last meeting except for the Creative Commons licensing is done. So, and that it slipped by, and we'll go add that. See.
New business.
Okay, this is where it's going to get kind of. And if you're at all involved with the international community, you may have heard that Kathy Lucier left Masslink. She was the driving force behind the Masslink development initiative, and has been the person that's been doing all the work with the vendors and coordinating everybody, figuring out what projects we were going to do. She did all the testing and all of that. And with her leaving, the Masslink organization is interested in finding a new home for the project. So we have talked recently on our team. It's come up in meetings and roundtables, the fact that we're actually down to staff people on our project here. The question is how to pay to bring back staff members. And so I have been researching the possibility of us taking on the development cooperative here in Indiana. If we do that, they will pay for all of the development cooperative costs. and half of the salary of the individual hired. And we as a community would only be responsible for coming up with the other half of that individual's salary. And then it would be ours 50% of the time and the cooperative's 50% of the time.
Is that position going to be, is it a permanent or is it going to be a temporary position or?
We would be setting it up with the state as a state employee, so it would be as permanent as we can make it. Now, that being said, funding is, I would like to do our level best to make sure that funding is as permanent as possible, but I can't promise anything. So this would not be funded by the state, it's just that we would be able to leverage the state benefits. So this would be a fully benefited position at the state library, so they'd be there with us helping out and just adding support. So you guys have more people. What does this mean in numbers? That's usually, or that was one of my big questions, was I looking at it going, well, okay. So what it would be is we'd reallocate money that's currently in our development line item and create a staff line item, $10,000 for MassLink and $35,000 for development projects. That would leave us with $40,000 still to use for development projects and would be our entire contribution then. I said entire, and I didn't put the full amount from MassLink. So it would end up being $60,000 would be our entire contribution. And that would include our half-time person. So we still have $40,000 to use for development, but this would also mean that we would have the national development expert here in Indiana. So the person who has the relationship with the vendors, who can get us in. So if there's something else that we particularly wanted, that would make this a lot easier. We'd have someone who would have experience working with specs, hopefully. So we can get that to happen.
Do you have a person in mind? I mean, do you?
I do.
I have someone I'd like to recruit, but because this is something that will require input from the national community, it will go out. And the initial prospectus I've written for the job itself requires them to have worked in Evergreen for several years. They need to have some knowledge of how programming works and how project development works. So we could pull, it would be ideal if we could get someone here in Indiana because then they'd already be up on all of our policies, but we would also have the opportunity to pull from Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky, or Missouri very easily.
It sounds like a really good idea. I would be bigger.
The position will actually be, like I say, all of the monies, and so we would also be processing all of their the development funds for the entire cooperative. And the foundation has agreed to let us host that alongside the Evergreen monies. So, and then the foundation is to reimburse the state. So I've been going back and forth between several agencies to find out if we can make this happen. And Jake and Wendy have been incredibly amazing about supporting the research on this and trying to figure out if we can do this.
So who actually makes the decision to hire this individual?
We would. The state library.
The state library would, okay.
With the input of the various, let's say, I would ask that what's currently MassLink will obviously rebrand if it's no longer part of their project, but ask the MassLink group to provide 2 or 3 people to sit in on interviews and provide feedback. Because this is a big project. We are talking about someone who works with libraries from Alaska and Canada down to southern Georgia. So it's a big consortium. Our cooperative is a big group, so we would take their input into consideration.
But they don't get to decide. We just listen to what they have to say and
Yes.
consider. So we make the decision here in the state.
Yes.
Sounds like a a good opportunity for us.
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
I think so.
I would just love to have more help.
Yes.
I'm sure you
And
guys
that.
would appreciate
And
it.
that too.
I know this. It's just, I would like someone who is this involved with the development side of things. I really want them to be involved in the training side. So that's where I'm really going to encourage the Evergreen portion of this to focus is, because that's one thing we can never have too much of, is where talking to people. I never heard that before. Well, we need to take more trainings, but we need more people, so we need more trainings.
So do we need a
Motion?
motion?
We would, because
Yes.
we're gonna be moving, I can leave the money in the mass link line item, because we'll just, it will become one total, but move it, move to reallocate the funds to fund this position. Now, I will give one final caveat. I have to present our proposal again to the mass link community on Thursday, so they will, have one more chance to have a say in the matter. Because I'm coming up with a new finance schedule from what Maslin had, so. Fair.
Okay,
I move that we reallocate the money as you have said.
okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Everyone.
Everybody
All
seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, the next one is actually, it's gonna be, it's a tentative vote. Because I don't actually have to take work in. I have a written confirmation from the director that, move is going to happen. But, yeah, other people know the history of Hancock.
I move that we let Kristen join Evergreen right now.
I will mention that there is
I'll
one
second.
small hitch with their migration. Like, the director would like to make this move, but their current library catalog does not actually have board records. So they will be recataloging in. It will be probably a couple-year process for them. Unless people want to send lots of guest staff over to help out. But,
I'd help out. I'd go.
well, I have no question we'll have multiple parties there because they have some of the best restaurants in town. We have to move.
All right,
I didn't hear this.
motion, is there a second? Okay,
Oh, who motioned? Monty.
I did.
Monty did, before it was even
And
out of the.
Karen.
I just saw the library. That's Kirsten's library.
All those in favor?
I
Okay.
All right. I need a ranking on preference here for the conference. This is Evergreen, Indiana Annual Conference, dates March 15th and March 29th. When I spoke with the port, both were still available, but it's been a little bit, so I would prefer to take a ranking, and then I will confirm as soon as I can verify the page still open. I did check, all of the ILS stuff starts the next, in April. So, April.
April
It's late,
21st or
Easter, yeah, it's
something.
late.
I don't care. Either date's fine.
Personally, the 29th would be
Personally,
better for me.
yes, I like the 29th.
Yeah.
Too, but
I'll be gone.
I don't care either way.
Yeah.
As long as the food's good, I don't care. And the food there's good.
You need a motion on that, or
Right.
I think we could probably go with consensus, not like
consensus?
closest thing to
Okay.
consensus we have is the,
Cheryl and I
Tuesday,
agree on the
29th.
29th.
but either day would work if they're available. All right. All right, next one. Evergreen International is going to be in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania on April 24th, 27th. Matthew tells me there is a major Lego festival that follows immediately after, right there in Philly. So if someone wanted an extended.
That's an incentive.
Our
I'll take
budget,
some vacation.
our budget for scholarships is $5,000 for 2019. Given the fact that this is going to be held at a casino and there will be flights involved for everyone, I would suggest we want to go with the higher scholarship value that we've used in the past. So $1,000 for our recommendation. That does limit us to 5 scholarships. But in my experience that when they're further away, we have fewer individuals.
That's high school. Can't go.
Is there
No,
somebody that would
you're gonna be
like to
here.
make that motion?
So,
Is Valley Forge on the western side of the state, or is it closer to
It's east.
east?
It's just outside.
It's a 9.5-hour drive.
Okay, we have a.
Denver was 17.
A motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
I
Aye.
Okay, all right.
Afterward.
you have to stand.
However, this would only be the third 9.5-hour drive I've made, so I'm still considering it.
All right, as some of you may have heard, Neil Starkey has resigned from Alexander Monroe. I don't think he's actually left yet, but he will
January
be
2nd.
vacating his seat on the executive committee because he's returning to Tippecanoe County Public Library. Eric Fisher has also resigned from the Patron Services Committee as he is no longer with Alexandria Monroe. So we have a couple of seats that are going to be open. For better or for worse, this kind of coincides with when our normal nominations are. So I just wanted to check to make sure you guys are okay with me pushing forward to try to use the nominations to find replacements.
Yep.
Does anybody know who's in charge now? Or will be?
We're being recorded, right?
yes.
You know that book you read in 7th grade about boys on an island? That's what it's developed into, from what I understand.
I
Some of us
wasn't
have
sure who I should be
different
contacting.
literature.
I probably, I'll reach out to Neil and see who to contact in the meantime, so we stay in touch.
The person to contact would probably be Brad Sawinski.
Okay.
He's the youth services manager, and he's kind of above the fray right now.
Good to know. All right. Oh, I have the next meeting on here, but there was a question this morning as to when the next meeting after that was going to be. I know it's early to think about it, but because the e-content groups want to meet the same day that you do after the February meeting, I didn't know if you wanted to stick with the April date for now or try to tie it to the conference. I know we've had mixed results with having the EC meeting at the conference, but it came up again during the roundtables as something that some people preferred. So
I personally don't prefer the EC meeting at the conference because I like to attend the sessions.
I don't either. I agree with mine.
I agree with mommy.
we'll plan on having the regular meeting in April then.
Okay.
Thank you.
And by the way, I've got all of our meetings for next year booked here. That's already in. So we'll be in the big room. This was because I have a senior group that Donna got to me, or got to the schedule before I could get in there.
I wanted to go to that room.
Yeah, they're playing euchre.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
Fun
great with the
days
senior
today.
It's
program.
like, wow, Monty, did you do this work?
So we're adjourned.
Yeah.
Oh, we did get a comment about the March 29th that may run into problems with that being the same as school breaks.
Well, mine's the 15th, so that's why I prefer the 29th. Whatever is fine. It doesn't matter.
It's 2 weeks, so.
Yeah,
But you
March
know
is a
what,
challenge.
the sheets, you're right, they wouldn't have school breaks that late. I mean, that early.
She does.
Oh,
We
you
do.
do on the
We
15th?
did too, we have 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Yeah.
Ours are always really
So
close
that's,
to Easter.
it's gonna be a problem wherever we go.
Yeah. Yeah. It probably.
But Easter's
will be.
really late this year. It's the 21st.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So the last
Of
week in
April.
April was April.
Wow.
The week before that is Easter. And then the 2 weeks before that was all ILS
ILS.
regionals. So
Mhm.
kind of ran out
I
of
mean, whatever's fine.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
whatever's fine.
I will see what's still available and lock that in. So we get the contract in place.
All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you, you too.
Are we recording still?
Yes.
Oh, no.
Shush for a couple more minutes.
Thank you for all of our guests.
Bye.